Master Anatomy and Physiology with Indramani Pandey.
What's up, guys? This is my next lecture about cell. In last lecture, we focused on the different directions, planes, and the regions of the body. But in today's lecture, we're gonna focus on the cell. We're gonna define cell. We're gonna talk different types of cells, and we're gonna talk about like different components of the eukaryotic cells. We just gonna talk like not on brief like different component of the cell, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna just mention different components of the cell, and we'll cover like different components of the cell in brief in my next videos. So let me start with the definition of the cell. What is a cell? A cell is a basic structural and the functional unit of life. Your life starts at cell. Without cell, you cannot imagine your life, right? So cell is a basic component you need to have to survive. And according to the cell theory, it says that new cells always arise from the pre-existing cells. Okay, and in human body there are like trillions of cells and over 250 different types of cells, and they work together, they perform their job together, so we can function in the real world. Let me tell you, the biologists divide the cell into two kingdoms, basically, or two separate component, that is prokaryotic and another is eukaryotic. The prokaryotes basically lack membrane-bound organelles like nucleus. However, in eukaryotic cells, they do have nucleus and the membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria. They have like Golgi apparatus, they have lysosomes, and they have chloroplast, right? So eukaryotic cells have those types of things. Remember that the prokaryotic cells are unicellular cells. And the example is bacteria. They live in colony. It doesn't mean that they have huge different types of cells. They have only unique one type of cell. That's why they are called prokaryotes. However, eukaryotes may be unicellular with one cell or multicellular with more than one cell. Okay. The eukaryotic cell has mainly three components, which we're gonna cover today, which is nucleus, cell membrane, and the cytoplasm. The nucleus is a master and it is a control center of the cell. And it is a type of organelle, and it is usually bigger than other types of organelle, where DNA houses there, okay? And as you know, DNA is responsible for genetic information, okay? And it is very useful for making proteins also indirectly, okay? And it has a great role in making protein because through the DNA replication and transcription, what you finally you're going to get is like protein through translation, right? So those steps occur from the DNA level. So we need to understand that. Remember that on the nucleus, the outer membrane is double membrane, which is called nuclear membrane. The nuclear membrane is double bounded, double layered, okay? And it has some pore called nuclear pore, and which is responsible for the enter and the exit of the macromolecules, okay? So they can travel from cytoplasm to the nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm is the fluid inside the nuclear envelope. And in the nucleus, there is a nucleolus or nucleoli. That means these are very responsible for manufacturing ribosomes. Okay, those ribosomes will come out from the nuclear pore and attach to the endoplasmic reticulum, and they will give to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So we'll focus on those later. That is about nucleus. The next thing is we're going to cover is cell membrane. As you see in the figure, cell membrane, the basic structure is this, but we'll cover on depth about cell membrane and the different channels through which the molecules pass and the structure of the cell membrane in my next videos. So basic structure of the cell I'm going to focus today is like this, which has head region and the tail region, and the head region are apart from each other, and the tail regions are going together, right? And the head region are usually hydrophilic in nature, they love water, but the tail regions are hydrophobic, which are um, they don't like water. Okay, they cannot uh, get water, or they can get water, but the water can pass through the channels, but they usually don't like water because these are non-polar in nature. Okay, but water is polar, right? So that's why it is very important. And there are some integral proteins which like embedding, or they are like just going from one membrane to the other. So it is a phospholipid bilayer. That's why the integral proteins are right there. And you have surface proteins also, peripheral proteins, right? And those things we're going to cover in the next lectures uh, regarding the cellular membrane or plasma membrane. So this is about the membrane, which is semi-permeable in nature. It does not allow all molecules to enter. Okay, to keep homeostatic balance, it has a great function which we will focus in future lessons. Now let me tell you about the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm. What do you think about cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is composed of cytosol, okay, and plus like cellular organelles like mitochondria. You have a centrioles, right? You have a vacuole and other types of organelles. So it is a cytosol, means it is a fluid inside the cell membrane. Okay, it is a inside compartment of the cell membrane, which is often known as intracellular compartment. And it is separated from the extracellular compartment through the cell membrane, which we will discuss in future, right? So that's the basic concept right here. So cytoplasm has cytosol plus cellular organelles. Okay, the organelles that we're gonna focus are basically ribosomes, which are very responsible for protein synthesis, and we're gonna talk about endoplasmic reticulum, and which are like rough and the smooth endoplasmic reticulums have their own distinct function. We're going to focus on those because the rough endoplasmic reticulum has ribosomes on its surface and responsible for protein synthesis, usually attached with the nuclear envelope. Okay, while the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they're usually helpful for the synthesis of carbohydrates and lipids, and they are very responsible for drug detoxification. And another cellular organelle is Golgi apparatus, which is often known as Golgi complex, and it processes, packages, and ships the items that have been made in the endoplasmic reticulum, and it works as a FedEx, okay, and it works as a UPS, right? So it just like it processes the items, it packages them, and it delivers or ships the items. Okay, and the mitochondria is another cellular organelle which is very responsible for cellular respiration, and it is a powerhouse which produces ATP and which gives that ADP or energy to perform work. So other cellular organelles are dependent upon that ADP, that's energy, right? So it is like a generator, okay? It gives the energy to other cellular organelles. The another one is lysosomes. Lysosomes are very specific in nature, or their function is very critical because whatever waste like garbages you're going to find in the cellular environment, that will be digested by the lysosomes, and it works as a digestive system in the cell, and it breaks down the damaged organelles and other solid materials. And another component is cytoskeleton. Cytoskeleton is a network of proteins and filaments and tubules, okay, and give shape to the cell, and it gives the coherence to the cell. And basically, it is the attachment of the cellular organelles will take place here, because cytoskeleton will work as a framework, so it gives you the attachment of different cellular organelles and like communication between different cellular organelles. That's main function about that one. And another component of the cell is centriole or centrosome. Centrosome is made up of two centrioles basically, and their main function is during cell division, during anaphase, while like chromosomes goes like apart or uh, toward the pole, so they function as a spindle fiber, right? The spindle fibers are arising from the centriole, so their main function is during cell division. And the last one is cilia and the flagella. Basically, both of them are usually responsible for locomotion. Cilia mm, is like it has like a wave like movement. For example, during in the respiratory tract, the mucus is a fluid. Okay, so the cilia sweeps the mucus so it can keep moisture all over the respiratory system, right? So that's the main function of cilia right there. And the flagella, on the other hand, it is like a whip-like structure, and it is basically uh, in human, basically in present in the sperm cells. Okay, it helps to sperm swim, and it helps sperm to diffuse to the egg, or for the fusion to the egg, and the fertilization will take place. The flagellum is basically for the movement. Now this is about the cellular component. If you think about like the cell diversity, the cells has like huge diversity. There are like over 250 different types of cells are present only in human being. More than 250 different types, and trillions of cells are there. And remember that their function is different, and they are distinct in structure and function from each other. Okay, and for example, like for the if we're talking about the cell diversity, let's take some example like macrophages, which fights against diseases, right? And nerve cell, which are responsible for conduction of impulses, right? And like red blood cells or erythrocytes, responsible for the oxygen carrying. They're gonna carry the oxygen to the different body parts, right? They carry oxygen. And other examples like sperm sperm cells during reproduction, you need that, right? So fat cells for the storage of the nutrients. So these are like some name of the cells which are very important for the life function. So cells are the basic unit and the functional unit of life. We need cell to survive. Finally, before I go, I'm going to show you the structure of the cell, and I'm going to mention some component how they look like. For example, in this picture, if you look here, you have it on the middle. There is an oval shaped structure, sorry, spherical shaped structure, which is nucleus, and inside nucleus you have it on a green. You have a nucleolus or nuclei, so nucleoli. Okay, and remember from the nucleolus or nucleoli, you have like chromatin. Okay, chromatin is like a thread-like structure. You're gonna see that right after the nuclear envelope, which is attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, where you're gonna see red dots, which is rough endoplasmic reticulum, and where there is no red dots, where there is no ribosomes on them, so those are called smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The Golgi apparatus or Golgi complex is right here. It processes the processes, and um, it packages and shifts the items. So it is responsible for that. There is a vacuole. You have a mitochondria, which is a powerhouse here. This all thing is like is a cytoplasm right here. You can see some free ribosomes here also. This is mitochondria, as I told you. Some you have like filaments going on. You have the lysosomes here, which is a digestive system of the cell, and this is a centriole, which is very responsible during cell division. So this is a general structure of the cell. In next lecture, we will focus on basically like different components of the cell. We're going to start with the nucleus. We're going to talk about the structure of cell membrane and cytoplasmic like component like this on depth. in future lessons. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Please subscribe to see more videos regarding anatomy and physiology.